here with the senator from Nevada, Senator Rosen. She is one of the sponsors of this bill, along with Senator Murray and Senator Padilla, who is also here, Senator Ben Ray Lujan, and myself, in addition to over 20 of our colleagues. We must pass this bill today, Mr. President. Almost 6 weeks ago, that's all the time it's been. Seems like it's been a lot longer. It's been only 6 weeks, Mr. President, since the Supreme Court issued a rule shredding nearly 5 decades of precedent protecting a woman's right to make her own health care decisions. Now, because of that decision, shredding 50 years of precedent, women are at the mercy of state laws or new state laws or governors. They literally ran to the state capitol, a number of legislators, to see who could get there first, who could introduce and pass the most extreme bill. They are literally, women are at the mercy of state laws that are a patchwork across the country, that in many cases leave them with fewer rights than their mothers or their grandmothers. This is in spite of what the American people want. 70 to 80% of Americans believe that it is a decision that should be made by a woman and her doctor, and not politicians, not my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. They don't want them making their decisions for them. They want to make their decisions with their doctors. And if there wasn't proof enough that I've come here every single week since the Dobbs decision issued to remind people where the actual public is out there, look at what happened last night. We heard the majority loud and clear in the sunflower state of Kansas. The people of Kansas, in a record turnout, doubling the number of Kansans that voted in the last midterm election, they voted 59 to 41% to protect reproductive freedom. That's more than 530,000 Kansans who showed up in an odd election time in the middle of the summer on a hot day in August. They showed up to protect women's rights. For context, fewer than 460,000 Kansans even cast a ballot in the 2018 primary. That's what we're dealing with. And yet we now have 530,000 that showed up to vote on one side to say a woman's right should be protected in their state. This is a wake-up call to my colleagues who've been resisting action when it comes to allowing women to travel, when it comes to allowing women to be able to make a choice about even contraception, when it comes to, in this bill, letting doctors provide reproductive health care. This doesn't come down to red states or blue states, my friends. People across the country, as I've argued vociferously before, and now I have my proof point, whether they be independents, Democrats, or moderate Republicans, when they show up, women's rights are protected. And guess what? They're showing up. Since this decision came down, I've come to the floor of the Senate and again with my colleagues to push for common sense bills to protect women in this post-Roe world. We've tried to preserve a woman's right to travel to other states. That was Senator Cortez Masto's bill. We brought a bill to the floor to give women reliable access to family planning services. That was my colleague, Senator Tina Smith's bill. We tried to pass legislation to make sure everyone should access contraception as well as accurate information about contraception. We thank all our colleagues for their work on these bills, and I want to specifically mention Senator Murray for her work. But we are not giving up, not when so much is on the line. Many of the biggest fights for reproductive freedom are happening on the state and local level. Women, as well as their doctors, are now in the crosshairs. Republican state lawmakers are drafting legislation that would make it a crime to provide abortion care to a patient in another state where it's legal. Let's get this straight. They would make it a crime. You can't get an abortion like that little 10-year-old girl couldn't get an abortion when she was raped in her own state. She goes to another state, and now we have legislators in certain states that are trying to make it a crime for her to do that. State legislators in Texas and Arkansas have indicated they're considering these kinds of laws, and the governor of South Dakota, which shares a border with my state, refused to rule out a similar law. Doctors in Minnesota, where reproductive rights are firmly protected, could be prosecuted for providing completely legal medical procedures for people in maybe North Dakota or South Dakota or Iowa that come to the great state of Minnesota. The Let Doctors Provide Reproductive Health Care Act is a straightforward solution. It protects doctors giving abortion care in states where it is legal and stops extreme attempts to investigate or punish them for doing their jobs. Women and the providers who help them are already facing so much uncertainty because of the Dobbs decision. We should all be able to agree that at the very least, states shouldn't be able to target, punish, or arrest out-of-state doctors who following their own state laws. Today, each and every one of my colleagues has the opportunity to make clear where they stand. They did that in Kansas last night. They were able to vote. Now let's have a real vote on this. Not stop the vote, actually get it done. And I see my friend Senator Blumenthal, who's been such a leader on this issue out of the state of Connecticut, is here as well as Senator Padilla. I yield the floor. Thank you, Mr. President.